All right, in this chapter, we're going to go over one of the things you hope you will do the most in DX1, at least if you work in the parts department, and that's to sell an in stock part over the counter. So let's take a look at the different ways you can do that. Of course, the first thing we'll need to do is open up a new parts invoice. I've already mentioned the quickest way to do that, which can be done from any page in DX1. If you have the right permissions, is to come up top and click the green part square, and that'll open a new invoice in a new tab. And that's good if you're working on something currently and a customer walks up. You don't have to lose your information, reload the page, do a bunch of navigating. You just open that new parts invoice. All right. So the first thing we need to do is look for a part and to put into stock. And there's a number of different ways we can do that. We've already talked about the part search a number of times. So the first way is to look up by part number or a description using the all field search. Again, this is letting me see a list of parts as I'm typing a part number in. I can see here I have my spark plug, my BR8ES from in EasyGo. That's my vendor. I can see my price and then the quantity I have on hand. To add that to an invoice, I just hit plus. Pretty simple. The other way, I could have looked for an in-stock part. I could have opened my part inventory window, filtered to part, show me what's in inventory, and I could have searched. I can search by all vendors here. In this case, I can see everything I have in inventory. I can go down and I can search by a particular vendor. I can see a bit more information from the all field search. I can, see some bins and quantity on hand and available, which is always important. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. So I can easily just add a part in from just highlighting it. And again, clicking add selected. And if I just know the part number off the top of my head, I can also just type it in and it will be there. Okay, so those are your three main ways that you can add a part that you have in stock. Now, one of the concepts I want to talk about here while we're talking about selling in stock parts is what we'll call the concept of on hand and available. On hand means the physical quantity at the dealership. If you were to run physical inventory or you're to look at from an accounting standpoint, you have 10 of these items in your dealership. Available is simply what it sounds like is of those 10, how many are available for sale? And in this case, right now, it's saying all 10 are available. Now, for the sake of a demonstration, I'm going to add a customer in here. Let's put in my name. We'll do Bob Bill here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to save, because I talked about this in a previous video chapter, and I want to kind of reemphasize it again here when you're selling parts, especially parts that are in stock. If I was to put this on hold or put these parts in, it's going to ask me if I want to reduce my quantity available. And I can definitely do that. And what that means is I've now allotted those parts to this customer, even though I haven't necessarily sold it to them. So when I go to create a new parts invoice and I find that same part now and I go to add it, let's make sure I got my right one here. And I go 10 on hand and I highlight it, it's now going to say I still have 10 on hand, but I only have 7 available. And that's because I've set 3 aside. And that could happen. Maybe you did it for layaway. You could have had 10 of these that are on hand, but 2 of them are for special orders. So it'd say that you have 10 on hand, 8 available. And if you need to see where these parts are, anytime you have a difference between on hand and available, but particularly in the parts invoice, you can see it turned into a blue hyperlink. You can click that and you can see particularly where the quantities are put. It's telling you the 3 that you can't account for is because they're all set aside for invoice 512. There's 3 total for customer for Bob Bill. Now, if I come over to this customer who I set them aside for and I go in and I void my sell and I hit save, then the next time I add that part back in, we'll see it should update. All right, here's my 10. And now when I highlight it, I'm back to having my 10 on hand and 10 available. So that's something that's really important to understand when you're selling a part over the counter, because many times people say, well, I know I have 5 of those here, but then it's trying to put that part into the special order column. Well, that's because if you have 5 in stock and it's still putting it in the special order column, it means those 5 are probably set aside for somebody. So it'd say 5 on hand and 0 available. So just make sure as you train new parts people, or even as a parts person yourself, if you weren't aware of that concept, Remember how important that is for making sure you understand why you think you have parts under your building, but they may not show up as a sold item. Okay, so we're back to normal. We have a part in stock. We have 10 available. I can add the part in right here. If I need to do any type of discount, I can click 10 here. I could have updated the price. I could have made it 350. As you can see, those two work together. Whether you set the discount or you set the unit extension, of course, they calculate together. So we'll show that here. Your extension on this side is the extension of the sold part. So if I go in and enter a quantity 2, then you can see my extension is 350 times 2. So again, the price of the individual part, but here's the sum of those parts there. I have 2 at $350, $7. I can also decide whether the item is taxable or not. For some reason, if I needed to set the whole invoice or the part is tax exempt, I could check it here and say whether I want to apply it or to one item or the whole invoice. In this case, we're going to do a normal invoice. It's taxable part. I should do it. We just saw you can discount by putting in a percentage, or you can change a unit extension. You can also click the discount icon here. And the upside of this, using this icon compared to what we just did in the grid, is that I can do a cost plus discount. So when we did the discount you just saw, that was really from a retail side. But maybe, I want to do a certain amount of discount to make sure, like on tires, I'm getting my margin. So sure, I can offer you a discount on that. I want to make sure I make 20%. I hit save, and then it'll appropriately discount in the direction you want to go. So I think a lot of dealers that we have don't realize that that functionality exists in that drop down to handle that. Now, granted, a lot of our customers, if somebody's tax exempt or they have a cost plus discount, go into the customer record and set that up so they don't have to do that per part. But let's make sure we understand that. All right, so we have our part, we've added it, we have 2 in stock, we've set that quantity. We don't really need to do anything else at this point. We don't need to see anything on the part information side. If I wanted to put an invoice note, I could here. We're going to tackle e-payments in a different video. So right now we'll keep it simple. Now we need to cashier amount. So to do that, we're going to use our method of payment, a drop down. For this one, we'll just use cash, keep it very simple. You can see our balance due is $531. I select my method of payment. I click the payment. I've taken it. And then what I'll do now, if I'm done, is hit complete sell. And you'll see the select receipt type window. If I want to print a copy of the invoice, I can do it here. If the customer would like a SMS copy or an email copy, I could have entered their numbers here. If I did add a customer and this information was added, it would have automatically populated here, so you wouldn't have to do it. Additionally, we have some toggles here for this process. So maybe you don't want to show this part number to your customer on the final invoice, or maybe you don't mind if you do. Either way, you have some functionality there. Additional details is for when you sell kits. You're going to have a kit number. It might say like fuel jug kit, but it could be made up of multiple components. This toggle is just, again, to decide whether you want to show the customer the items that make up the kit, or if you just want to show it as one line item, one kit number. So you have those options there. If I decide I want to hit hide part numbers and print it for my customer, I'll hit the print button here. It'll pull up my invoice, and I can simply hit print, send it to my printer, and hand the customer. So that's pretty easy. If for some reason when I completed my sale, my printer jammed, or I needed to reprint the invoice for anything for a customer, I could come over to history. Here I'm going to see my cash customer. I can reprint if I need, email, and more importantly, as we've already talked about, but we'll go through it one more time again, if I need to refund or do a return, that's where I would come here. I can say return all, hit continue. I would refund the payment amount that I took, and I could just simply hit complete sell. So that's how to sell a part over the counter. And if I needed to take the part back, which will put it in my inventory, how to quickly do a return. This is something you're going to do over and over, hopefully a lot of in DX1. So make sure that if all the tasks you get mastered in the parts department, master that one first.